So logic is part of a threefold curriculum that the ancient Stoics taught in order to train ultimately as Stoics. And they actually didn't invent this curriculum. They kind of inherited it from the Aristotelian and Platonic traditions, where philosophy was carved up into certain bits in order to study. And so the three main philosophical topics that the Stoics studied were physics, ethics, and logic. And so logic is one of those three. And all of those things mean something a little different from what they mean today. And they all tend to be a little broader as well, I would say. So starting with physics, physics is kind of the general study of nature or the world around us pretty much. And it also included in the ancient Stoa things like theology, understanding God and your relationship to God, as well as what things are made of and things like that. And so that was physics. Then there's ethics, which is kind of what people focus on and think of when they think of Stoicism overall. But ethics actually doesn't necessarily mean shaking your finger and saying what's right or wrong in terms of action. Instead, it's a focus on character. Ethos is the Greek actually for character for the most part. So what this is kind of how to build one's character. And the third area is logic. And so logic has a much broader meaning than we mean nowadays. Generally nowadays, logic means formal systems in order to deduce theorems, whereas in the ancient time, it included this, although the ancients tend to call this part of logic dialectic. And you'll see this sometimes in Marcus Aurelius. He talks about dialectic, and also occasionally Epictetus, they talk about dialectic. And dialectic is kind of logic as we mean it today, for the most part. But logic also consisted of how to speak. The word logic is related to logos, and if anybody's familiar with the Christian tradition in the book of John starts off in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So what's this word thing? Well, it's logos. And so John is actually borrowing from the Greek tradition he was kind of ensconced in, and presenting this to the Christian audience. And this logos, this word, it's hard to translate, and we may not want to get too much into it, but it's both like our discourse, how we speak about things. And so logic, the Stoic study of logic, had to do in large part with what we call rhetoric nowadays, and also philosophy of language, how words work and what they do. There's also kind of reasoning skills involved, and then more formal logic as well. So logic is more around words, and it is also somewhat related to psychology, I would say, too, since a lot of the material that we do our reasoning on are psychological phenomena that come up to us. So logic in the Stoic sense is a lot broader than how we'd use it today, but logic as we mean it today was still an extremely important part of early Stoicism.